The plainest Jane. This is one of my favorite comments here. She says, I loves me some black, and she said, loves me some black news. She says, is it just me, or does anyone else get tired of seeing people that don't look like them delivering info about them day in and day out? I'm your girl, the plainest Jane, and let's see what's happening in these virtual streets. You ready? All right now. This could be a crazy ride. I'm warning you now. What up and welcome back. It's your girl Jane, the plainest Jane, and y'all know how I give it up over here. On this channel, I serve syrup in the form of black news and celebrity updates because y'all know things are always sticky in Hollywood and in real life. And the story that we're going to be discussing today, it is a story that I think it hits close to home for anybody who has a young loved one who is in school, because this could have been prevented, number one. But I want to get into giving you the full breakdown and the full run through of exactly what happened. This did happen on a day that I feel is plagued with negativity, January 6th. And I've been watching this story unfold for the last couple of weeks, and I want to give you just a slew of updates. So definitely buckle in. Obviously, I want to give you a trigger warning. Y'all know I always mention mental health before I get into any subject, serious, funny, or otherwise. And obviously, this is one of those things where you want to make sure you're okay, as opposed to over consuming things that may make you sad or upset. So keep that in mind. Make sure you share this live with somebody. Hit thumbs up. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more black news and celebrity entertainment. So today we will be discussing a tragedy, and I'm sure you read the title, where a 6-year-old, a first grader, actually pow, SH00T, their teacher. You know, you got to try to keep it clean in the first 5 minutes of YouTube. So I want to get into the stance and the updates on the teacher, the student, the school, the district, who plans to file what against who, and who could ultimately be held responsible for this. Because if you know, legally, typically a 7-year-old is too young to form quote unquote criminal intent and therefore may not be charged. Okay. But someone's got to be held accountable for this, because it was certainly an act of negligence on somebody's part. Some people think it was the child's fault. The child was 6. Some people think it was the parents' fault. Some people think it was the teacher's fault or the school's fault or the district's fault. There are a lot of different thoughts as social media is in a tizzy about this situation. And I want to break all of this stuff down, and I want to get your opinions about it, especially if you are the parent of a child who attends a school. I see that there's somebody in the chat that says this story has affected the school that my kids go to. So it seems like they may be in the proximity of this area. Hey, Tay-Tay, shout out to Tay-Tay G. But let's go ahead and get into this story and some of these gruesome details and a lot of the red flags that were, quite frankly, they were missed. So this is one of the more serious broadcasts that I do. Y'all know I laugh, joke, and I will cut up in a heartbeat, but this is a singular topic show. I'm going to come back later, more than likely backstage or on the backup channel, probably on members only, but we'll be back later on to lighten the mood and talk about other things that are going on. But this was something that I definitely felt deserved attention. So like I said, make sure you hit thumbs up while you on my buzz. It's free to ride my buzz. It's free for you to, get informed and entertained by me and so on and so forth. All I ask is that you pay with some gratitude by hitting thumbs up, which is free. If you want to send a cash app, if you want to send $2, $3, $5, $10, that's okay. But real quick, again, mental health, make sure your invisible problems are in check. This can be a triggering story for some, especially if you have a child who is in school, because this was a teacher who was shot. But imagine if it could have been worse if this was another fellow first grader. Okay, so this is a really unfortunate situation. Okay, shout out to the new subscribers, shout out to the new channel members. I just want to say thank y'all. And of course, before I get into breaking down today's topics and viral events, make sure that you subscribe, thumbs up or down. Either way, I appreciate it. But don't forget to think critically and independently, regardless of what you hear from me or anybody else. So let's go ahead and begin going through the rundown of said situation. Again, this is January 6th. Okay. January 6th, school was winding down for the week on the 6th of January when a first grade student who is 6 years old, he pulled out a gun and shot his teacher. Now, she was hit in the hand and chest because she took a defensive mode. She heard something going on. She took defensive mode. So the bullet went through her hand and it went into her chest. 6 years old is to know how to shoot a gun, to have access to the gun, to sneak the gun out the house. I feel like there's something to be said there, but let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. As you listen to these details, I have a few lingering questions that I would like for you all to answer for me. And just let me know your thoughts, okay? Now, should this 6-year-old be tried as an adult or at all? Would she be his punishment? If so, should he just get off with no punishment because you can't legally, formulate criminal intent until you're 7, I believe? And who should be held accountable if not him or in addition to the child? These are questions that I would love to know your thoughts about down below in the comments. Okay. You're right about that Virgo child. We're going to get into that. Okay. So school was winding down. It's January 6th, first grade student, 6 years old. He shoots his teacher. She was hit in the hand. She was hit in the chest. She was rushed to the hospital with critical injuries. And she has since been released and she's currently home as she continues to recover. Now, everybody's lawyered up at this point. The 6-year-old's parents, they have attorneys. The teacher, they've got their attorneys. And police are saying that the boy brought the gun from home in his backpack. Now, the boy's family said in their statement that he's in a hospital and he's receiving treatment and expressed how sorrow they are for the shooting. So the attorney for the boy's family said in an interview that the gun was secured with a trigger lock and it was kept on the top shelf of the mother's bedroom closet. The attorney also said that it is unclear how the boy got a hold of the gun. Now, the family of the 6-year-old that fired the shot released the following statement through their attorney and said, quote, "We continue to pray for the teacher's full recovery and her loved ones who are undoubtedly upset and concerned. At the same time, we love our son, and we're asking that you please include him and our family in prayers," end quote. Now, they went on to share how the 6-year-old was under a quote-unquote care plan at the school, which included, this specific academic care plan included his mother or father attending school with him each day, accompanying him to class every day. However, that plan or them accompanying their child, it stopped the week of the shooting. Do you think he would have pulled out a gun and done all that if his parents were sitting there? So he was under a strict, academic quote unquote care plan, and his parents were supposed to be there every step of the way as he transitioned through classes, but that stopped the week of the shooting. Convenient. Now, the parents go on to release this statement through their attorney, quote, "We will regret our absence on this day for the rest of our lives." The statement read, okay? Now, this happened in Virginia, okay? And the Virginia teacher who was shot by a 6-year-old student repeatedly asked administrators, this is where the stuff really gets sticky. I give you syrup over here. Things get really... it's not necessarily always black and white, but it's like, what's going on? A lot of times when you have, Black adolescents, who may do something that may be considered a crime, they're tried as an adult. They throw the book at them, but this is really a sticky situation because this is a serious offense. And if they don't throw the book at the child, which may or may not, again, 7, the ability to formulate criminal intent, are the parents really to blame here? He was able to attain the gun, sneak the gun out off of the supposed top shelf, and then he was able to get the safety trigger off as well. So nonetheless, this is a teacher who repeatedly asked administrators for help with this student in particular, but officials downplayed the educator's warnings about his behavior, including dismissing his threat to light the teacher on fire and watch her die. These are some of the previous incidents, which we're going to dive deeper into as we continue getting into this story. Okay. Now, I was able to get my hands on some information from the spouse of a teacher that works in the school where all of this took place, as well as the parent of a student whose classroom was directly across the hall from where the teacher was shot. Okay. So let's get into this information. This story, it's mind blowing. It really is. I couldn't even imagine at my big old age, even shooting a gun for malicious or for any reason. I've been to the gun range, sure, but I really just couldn't imagine shooting anybody. So to have a 6-year-old have that type of heart. There was some oversight that was missed, whether it was the parents, the school, both, whatever's going on. This is a lot. And like I said, there were a lot of red flags that were present. Okay, let's continue. Like I said, share this video and hit thumbs up. Okay. Hey, thanks for letting me keep you connected and in the know with what's happening in the Black world. Don't forget to smash on that like button for support and for more Black news. So, now, both the spouse and the mother where this information came from, they spoke on the condition of staying anonymous. They want to protect their family's privacy, and they really don't want to deal with any retaliation, from the school or anyone. And what they said was the student was known campus-wide for disruptive and violent behavior, and that the school's employees struggled to manage him in class. They also went on to share how they don't think that the teachers at that specific school are getting support. They're not getting the compassion, they're not getting answers, and they're not being listened to. Okay. Now, also a concerned parent whose son was taught by this same teacher. Her name is Abigail, by the way. Nickname is Abby. A concerned parent whose son was taught by Abby said that school officials never formally notified parents in the class about the issues with the boy who fired the shot. They said that administrators mishandled the shooting, asserting that they should have pulled the boy out of class until they had definitively determined whether he possessed a gun and conducted a more thorough search. The reason why this statement was made, because it was confirmed via the superintendent and otherwise, right? The police department, the press conferences, and everything else. School officials got a tip. Matter of fact, they got more than one tip that day that this 6-year-old had a gun that day. They got this tip twice. Twice on record. Could have been more, but all I know about is twice. Okay? And when they got this tip, hey, he's got a gun. They searched his backpack, but staff and administration never found the weapon, and they therefore sent him back to class, where the 6-year-old later shot the 25-year-old teacher named Abigail. Now, according to the police chief in this district, this is a district that's called Newport News. Well, it's news, all right. Okay, Newport News District. The police chief named Steve Drew said that his department was not contacted about the report that there would have possibly been a gun in that elementary school on that 6th grader in that 1st grade class. So the police department was like, we were never notified about the threat of a gun. Now, my question is, who is really qualified enough to really conduct a search to determine, you know what, there's no gun present. That seems to be something that, you know, more than any Joe Schmo or teacher can really conduct, right? We're talking about a serious search for a weapon. And this is why the police went ahead and cleared themselves and said, listen, we weren't notified. Because honestly, that's who should have been notified with something like this taking place. Thank you so much, Linda, for the Cash App. I do appreciate that. And so, as you can imagine, dozens of parents, you know, recounted their disappointment, their anger, their frustration with the security measures or lack thereof at this elementary school, which is, Richneck, and other schools in the district. So there have been 3 shootings. This is what you'd be surprised to know, that in Richneck, you can see the name of the school here, okay? Richneck Elementary School. I went ahead and grabbed several pictures and headlines and things to make it relevant. I even have the picture of the teacher, which is right here. This is the teacher, okay? But this was Richneck Elementary School. And so within this district, there have been 3 shootings on school grounds in the last 18 months. There's a problem here. 18 months, 3 shootings in this district. There is a bit of a problem in this particular place in Virginia. So let's get into the lawsuit. Before we move on to the other frequent attacks from this very student, okay, from this very student, and how the school decided to handle those situations, aka the plethora of red flag, outside of the fact that one or the other of the parents had to be present in order for that child to behave and to be allowed into the school. If the parents have got to be there all 8 hours or however long the school day is, that's a red flag in itself, that the child's not going to act right unless their parents are present. That's one red flag. But there are a lot of other red flags and a lot of other prior incidents outside of the one where he said he wanted to set the teacher on fire and watch her die. There were other incidents as well, and we're going to get into those. So let's get into this lawsuit. So there was a press conference yesterday, which was Wednesday, okay, the 25th. What's today, the 26th, correct? Today's the 26th. Yes. So yesterday was the 25th. The teacher, actually, because at first the teacher was staying quiet. She wasn't willing to say anything. She didn't want to deal with retaliation from the school system. She didn't want to, quote unquote, lose her job. So she was staying quiet. But now she's speaking out through her attorney and saying that she actually intends, right? She fully intends on filing a lawsuit against the Newport News School Division after administrators, quote unquote, failed to act before she was shot by her 6-year-old student. Okay. Now, the teacher's attorney also claimed that administrators had been notified of concerns regarding this student multiple times on the morning of the shooting and outside of the morning of the shooting, which we're going to get into later. But her attorney went on in the press conference yesterday and said, listen, Abigail, and the other teachers, they tried to do the right thing on January 6th, adding that concerned teachers and staff warned school administrators that the boy had a gun and was threatening other students. However, the administration couldn't be bothered about that. Now, her attorney stood at this press conference and presented a timeline. And her attorney said that my client, the teacher who was shot, told administrators at 11:30 a.m. that a student was threatening to, quote unquote, beat up another student. About an hour later, another teacher reportedly searched the book bag of the student suspected of bringing a gun to school. The teacher then told administrators that she believed the boy had taken the gun out to recess, took it out of his pocket. Okay, so these were multiple threats and warnings and things that she gave her higher ups earlier throughout that day. One of the children came back in crying from recess and said he showed me a gun and he said if I told that he would attack me. is what the staff ended up saying to her when she gave the information about the firearm being present on campus during recess in general. Administrators told her, well, he has little pockets. Little pockets? Does that mean that you shouldn't check? Why would that even be something that you're saying in reference to something as serious as your staff, your students, anybody being armed? You addressing the size of his pockets, that's strange. Like I said, a boy later that afternoon went crying to a teacher saying another student had shown him a gun and threatened him if he told anyone. Now, after that, another teacher reportedly asked school officials if he could search the boy, but he was denied. So another teacher is trying to step in. Hey, they're saying there's a gun. Can I search him? They were denied because they were told by administration, because the school day was almost over, no, you can't search him for a gun. Another hour later is when the shooting occurred while she was teaching in front of her first grade classroom, and she was shot. So it very much is giving this could have been prevented. Okay. Y'all were given a tip. The tip turns out to be accurate thanks to the wounds that the teacher has had to endure. And I don't know who's qualified to do checks of that nature, but until they could really confirm. And here's my thing. If they did the check and they didn't find anything, if they aren't lying about doing this check, the school system, if they aren't lying about this, how is this 6-year-old that clever to have a firearm, hide it, make sure it can't get, it can't be detected, and then locate it again to do what he really wanted to do to that teacher? Strange. Okay. Here's what was said, right, by the attorney of the 6-year-old's mother. Okay. They responded to these allegations about the timeline and what happened in the school, saying that the student needed to be protected from himself. Mind you, how they said he has an acute disability. He's receiving treatment at the hospital. He's remorseful for what he's done. And so the attorney responds during the same press conference yesterday and says, well, this student needed to be protected from himself. And it was the responsibility. The responsibility fell on the district's, the school to do so. And because Newport News Public Schools didn't protect him from himself, the family of the 6-year-old is thus blaming it on the school system. The 6-year-old's attorney continued and said, if what the teacher who was shot, Miss Abby, if Miss Abigail's attorney, if what she's saying is accurate, then the school system failed this child. Went on to say, listen, the law is replete with examples, means it's full of, like, there's a plethora of examples of minors being treated differently because of their age, including that their minds are too young to form criminal intent. So, there's a lot going on here. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Now, the teacher's attorney went on to share how Miss Abby was released from the hospital last week, but the bullet remains dangerously inside of her body. And says, quote, The road to full recovery will be long. As her physical condition improves, the psychological wounds cut deeply and remain fresh. Okay. Very strong language coming from the injured's attorney, which honestly makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Now, NBC News actually has possession of the text message that the teacher sent um, sent a loved one prior to the shooting. Now we can get into this really quickly. She texted a loved one that the boy was armed, and essentially the text messages showed that she was frustrated. Uh, they disclosed a single text message, not the message before, not the message after, but says that, quote, she was frustrated because she was trying to get help with this child and for this child. And then when she needed help, quote, no one was coming. So, you know, that's what is going on with a text message that was sent out. So now I think I want to get into some of the biggest questions. And thank you so much, Diva Time, for the $5 super chat. I really appreciate that. It says hit the like button, family. Thank you so much. Hit the like button. The rest of the students will be traumatized too. I absolutely agree. Okay. Now, the biggest question here is really who is at fault, or who do y'all think is at fault? Because nothing has been determined. There really hasn't been anyone reprimanded outside of, I would say, like the superintendent, who was either fired or forced to resign. However you want to put it, they voted him out, right? Because it seems like there were a lot of red flags that were ignored. Not to mention, again, in this district's campus, there have been 3 shootings in the last 18 months. Okay. Which is pretty crazy. So when the investigation is complete, the findings will be sent to the Commonwealth attorney of the district to decide whether anyone should be charged. Now, legal experts say it is unlikely that the boy will be charged, since children under 7 are presumed unable to form the intent to carry out an illegal act under Virginia law. But it is possible that someone could be charged for failing to secure the weapon that was used in the shooting. Now, this was a weapon, to give you some specifics. The gun was legally purchased by the child's mother, who could face, she could face charges at the end of the investigation, according to law enforcement in that area. Now, the child brought it to school in his backpack, and under Virginia law, it is a misdemeanor if an adult leaves a loaded, unsecured firearm in such a way it could endanger a child under the age of 14. The statute also says that it's unlawful for a person to unknowingly allow a child under the age of 12 to use a firearm. So there's really no telling on who's going to be held accountable. Will it be the parents? Will it be the district? Will it be both? And more importantly, what's really going to happen to this child? What's really going to happen to this child? While I don't feel like he deserves to have the rest of his life, taken away from him, right? I still feel like there's got to be some measure put into place to help him understand the ramification of his actions. I'm not sure what that is. How do you punish a 6-year-old for an offense like that? It's really difficult to say. Now, let's get into the teachers dealing with frequent attacks from students, okay? So several teachers in this particular school, in Richneck Elementary School, they said that they received no support when they faced violence in the classroom or attacks from students. Now, some of them also claim that the district is more interested in keeping discipline statistics low than in taking meaningful actions to address the students' problems. Now, on one occasion, when we go back into specifics about the problems that this young man actually presented to the school and really placed the administration and the students and everyone else in danger. Okay. When we're touching and talking about these things, here are some of these specifics. On one occasion, the boy wrote a note telling the teacher he hated her and he wanted to light her on fire and watch her die. Now, this is what the teacher said. Now, on alarmed, the teacher brought the note to the attention of administrators and was told to drop the matter. Now, on a second occasion, the boy threw furniture and other items in class, prompting students to hide beneath their desks, according to the account. And another time, the teacher alleges in her account that the boy barricaded the doors to a classroom, preventing a teacher and students from leaving. The teacher banged on the classroom door until another teacher from across the hall forced it open from the outside. Now, this is according to what the teacher is saying. Okay? It wasn't clear if the teacher asked for any specific action from administrators after that incident. So, I mean, barricading, the teachers and the students in a classroom, it's bizarre to me. It's bizarre. So, a parent of a child who was in Miss Abigail's class, the woman who was shot, a parent of a child who was in Miss Abigail's class said that her daughter had actually been bullied by classmates and said that she struggled to make the school take her concerns seriously, and that the principal of the elementary school once failed to show for a parent-teacher conference about the bullying, although other officials did show up. Now, these previous, the unreported incidents from the past, they do raise questions about how Richneck Elementary School in Newport News handled the troubled student before police say that he shot his 25-year-old teacher as she taught her first grade class. Now, authorities are calling this intentional. And, I would agree, it's a child, but intentional. Okay. But they're still investigating a motive nonetheless. As we can expect, parents are outraged over how the school has handled this. And police and school officials, they have repeatedly declined to answer questions about the boy's disciplinary issues or worrisome behaviors that this 6-year-old boy may have exhibited and how school officials responded, citing the child's age in the ongoing law enforcement investigation. Now, again, the boy's family is sticking to the fact that he had an acute disability. Okay. So there was a school spokesperson. Her name is Michelle Price. Now, she said in a phone interview on late Friday that the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, which is a federal law protecting students' privacy, it prohibits her from releasing information related to the 6-year-old, excuse me. And she says that she's not able to share any information about the child's educational record, and that a lot of the questions that people are asking are a part of the child's educational record. And it's also a matter of ongoing police investigation and an internal school investigation. So some of the information, the spokesperson even said that they are not privy to. So there were screenshots of a conversation held online between the employees of the school system shortly after of that specific school, shortly after the shooting. And it showed educators claiming that the teacher who was shot, that she did raise alarms plenty of times about this 16-year-old, and she's 6-year-old, excuse me. I don't know why I keep saying 16, about this 6-year-old, and sought assistance really during the duration of the school year. Okay. And so they said, listen, she asked for help. And there was like a chat. There was a dialogue. You could see different people said she asked for help. Another person said several times. Another person said, yes, she did. Another person said 2 hours prior. And another person said all year. So all the teachers were in this chat. And these were messages that were actually handed over to the Washington Post. So it has been authenticated through the Washington Post, which is a very notable and credible source. That all of the teachers were in agreement that this teacher had asked for help on multiple occasions. Okay. Now, the superintendent, who isn't the superintendent anymore, this was something that was taken before yesterday when they were voted out. The superintendent said at a meeting with the students of the school that the district is purchasing 90 state-of-the-art metal detectors, and that the district is acquiring clear backpacks to hand out to students. So they've also assigned a new administrator to the school, and also said that officials were taking note of the different teachers' concerns. Okay. So there's a lot going on here with this unfortunate situation. And I really want to know what you all think. Like I said, should he be tried as an adult or at all, right? Should he be tried as a minor, right? And get juvie in a couple years? If not, or in addition to, what should be his punishment and who should be held accountable? Who should be held accountable? Who should be? Any and all thoughts? Let me know down below. I'm curious to know what you all think about this situation. Okay. So if somebody wants to send me a picture that they feel like goes with this story, they most certainly can. But coming here without a picture to suggest something it's not the flex that you think it is. Because according to my sources, and I've been researching this story for 3 days, this is what I have. And if there's a different picture that you would like me to present, and it can be authenticated, I'll come back and gladly correct it. But if not, then I'm gonna need you to sit and just have a seat. Okay. So who's really at fault here? Who's really at fault? I'm fighting with the idea of opening the phone lines because I don't want the show to get too cluttered. But if anybody has any thoughts about if he should be tried, what should be his punishment, who should be held accountable, I just want to know. I just want to know your thoughts on this. What are y'all thoughts? Y'all let me know really quickly. Should I open the phone lines or should I just go ahead and end the video and leave the video real nice, cute, and neat? Okay, we'll be right back. Get into this Black-owned business, Stickies. It's got things for inside your home, outside your home, and even on the go. JasmineMadeIt.com is your new destination for Black Girl Magic mugs, tumblers, and even wine glasses. You can even customize the tumblers and wine glasses. There's a lot going on for a low price over at JasmineMadeIt.com. And if you've been serious about wanting to support more Black-owned businesses, here's your chance. Let JasmineMadeIt.com handle all your problems for family and friends. You ever had a friend over and they just wasn't catching the hint or paying the rent?
Our asses all get to stepping.
Yeah, tell them to get to stepping with this nostalgic Martin themed doormat and shop over a dozen different doormat designs over on JasmineMadeIt.com. All right, Stickies, you know what time it is. It's time to put your money where your mouth is and shop Black today. Make life easier for you and your household by taking your family's hot or cold beverages on the go with one of these unique tumblers. It's insulated to keep your beverage at temperature, and it comes with a few different reusable straws and even the specific brush that you need to wash it so you can keep it sanitized and germ-free. They've got all kinds of designs to match your mood or style. So grab something for your wife, the hubby, or even the kids over on JasmineMadeIt.com. That's JasmineMadeIt.com, and I'll see you over there. All right. Are we back? Child, I'm in the wrong tab. Okay. So we are back. Okay. We are back. Let me see. Um, all right. So it doesn't really look like I have a need to open the phone lines. People have said a lot in the comments, and I really would like for this video to stay under 1 hour, pretty neat, pretty concise, and to the point. Okay. Okay. So we've got the face blurred out because that's the right thing to do when it comes to kids. So that goes to address a little bit about what's going on in the comments. The face is blurred out as you're supposed to do with many of any kids, especially when it's something less than positive being said. So that's really the most important thing here. In my due diligence on my end. Okay. Now I am going to see the rest of you all down backstage on the members only. Y'all know we go members only a couple days a week. We have members only posts, and I do have some really interesting stuff that we need to discuss. Did this? Yeah, the teacher made it. Yeah, we went over that earlier. The teacher is they were in critical condition at first, but they were rushed to the facility. They were released from the facility last week, so they're back home. They've been back home for a while now, but the bullet is still lodged inside of the body. The teacher was hit through the hand and the chest. Okay, so yes, the teacher did survive. It could have been much worse, but it still could have very much been prevented. And an adult's survival rate compared to all the other fellow 6, 7, 5-year-olds that were in the classroom, I just, that can be kind of scary for all the parents. Okay. So we will more than likely be backstage later on this evening. Okay. The last we heard about the 6-year-old, they were receiving treatment in a facility. No word on what treatment, no word on what facility, but according to a statement released through the parents, the attorneys of the parents, the 6-year-old was remorseful for their actions and in the treatment, in the facility getting treatment. So that is what is being reported by the parents or the family of the 6-year-old, should I say. So I do hope that clears up a lot of questions. I really do hope that the teacher has some luck in her pursuit to take action against the school, because I do think I think both the school and the parent. My opinion on it is this. I actually do have some thoughts. I was just about to get off the thing. I'll share my final thoughts on unanswered questions while you check y'all's down below. Okay. Like I said earlier in the stream, January 6th is a day that is associated with horrible things lately, especially over the last couple of years. Like, why is January 6th just plagued with these things? Why? And like I said, there were so many different red flags missed here. All you need is a weapon and an opportunity to do something like this. And I think the parents provided the weapon, and I think the school provided the opportunity, because they avoided and ignored all of the cries for help from the teacher on that day and any time prior. Okay. And so parents have a duty to make sure that their children don't have access to weapons and to instill the right values into their children. And I think the school had a duty to protect the other children and the staff to make the difficult decision to let him go. And when I say let him go, I mean, if you need to make the decision to part ways with the child because they're endangering and they're getting in the way of other people's opportunity to learn and absorb knowledge in school, then you need to do that. Suspension, expulsion, whatever. The fact that there was some academic plan that the parents had to be there every day in every step of the way as he went to every class, and as soon as that stopped, he literally snapped and pulled the trigger. That says a lot. They should have been parted ways with this child and let this child or the child's parents figure out how they're going to go through the alternative learning system, alternative school. They should have done that a long time ago. You have a duty to protect them other kids and those other employees. And that could have easily been another 6-year-old, and that's unfortunate. And so that is the school's responsibility. And the school, they weren't taking this behavioral issue seriously, and it led to something that could have been deadly. Or again, it could have been another 6-year-old or a first grader who was shot. This is sad that schools are not obligated. They're not daycares, and they're not obligated to keep your child enrolled at school, especially when it's causing a disturbance of some sort for the other children or staff. And I just don't understand how 1 or 2 presents had to be present in order for this child to behave. They should have had the conversation and made the decision to homeschool, because that's a lot of time. If one of the parents got to be off during the day to go, they should have been trying to homeschool. Or did they just not want to deal with their child all day long? Or is it, I'm gonna just send you to school and hope you act right, and you're gonna be their problem for 8 hours? Not if they're that much of a hellion. That's a hellion. You didn't shot a whole nother person. You're mimicking this behavior from somewhere. Ain't enough Grand Theft Auto in the world for a 6-year-old. They're mimicking something that they are constantly absorbing, in my opinion. And so I feel like the ball was dropped. Yeah, we expect teachers to have a certain level of decorum and to follow a certain protocol, but a lot of it is on the parents too. And these teachers can only deal with but so much. We saw the clip the other day, I think it was yesterday, I seen this clip, or earlier today, where this substitute teacher slammed this white kid because the kid called him the N-word. Teachers only have a certain amount of what they're going to be able to tolerate. And that's where your home training and what you're doing at home and the decisions that you make go a long way. And like I said, between the parents understanding that somebody's got to be off of work from 7 to 3 or whatever them school hours are, to be there for that kid, you should have been put something into it. Boot camp, baby boot camp. We see Moesha when Ray J got taken off into boot camp, alternative school, home, because at this point it's literally costing you money. And I guarantee you, the fact that the parents had to get back to work and they couldn't afford to take off all the time, but their child was still a problem, a very evident problem, and a ticking time bomb, is the reason why this happened. They should have been considered alternative. Not only should the parents have considered alternative methods of how to educate their child and help them learn some but the school should have been parted ways and not even made it a question for the parents. So I do feel that 2 parties are at fault here. I do feel that 2 parties are at fault. The school should have been put this kid out, and then for this parent, for this teacher to have went to administration so many times. You done barricaded the teacher and the kids. They got to bang on the door to get out of there. I'm sorry. You need to be expelled then. Expulsion. It's a lot. So, schools are not daycares. And no one's obligated to teach your child when they're a disturbance to their counterparts, to administration. This is what drives people to madness. These teachers be having a lot to deal with. And don't get me wrong, some might be out of pocket, but see, the teacher's not raising your kids. You spend more time with your kids than the teachers are. So I do feel like they're but both of them are at fault here. I do. Okay. But you don't want teachers disciplining your children. You don't want them you don't want them raising their voices a certain type of way. So all the discipline is then what? Left up to the household. It's left up to the parent. Now, I if this was a 14-year-old, I really probably wouldn't even have any blame for the parent, because the 14-year-old is old enough to know that they're doing something that they know is flat out evil, is flat out. But a 6-year-old, like, come on, what's going on at home that your kid had time to get up there to a weapon like that and to know how to use it and to know how to aim it? Just one shot. And he was good at it. What's going on? Did you take him to the range or what? Like, this is not okay. It's not okay. How can a 6-year-old barricade a whole classroom full of people, including adults, into a room. It's a lot. And again, it goes back to, we got a tip that he has a weapon. And when we searched him, we didn't find it. But then an hour later, he firing shots. How did he even know how to conceal that weapon and put it somewhere where y'all weren't going to find it, and then grabbed it again to do what he did? Something's not right. Is he playing like Black Ops for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? What's is he on a VR headset playing these games, Grand Theft Auto? Like, I don't know. I can't even comprehend that. I wouldn't even be able to do that to It's too much. You cannot be afraid to part ways. If somebody had put in the chat earlier, damn, I lost my train of thought. Somebody put in the chat earlier that it seems that administration was afraid to confront this child. And sometimes when you have a problematic student, you do kind of just want to leave them alone because you realize they explode. I can remember that a little bit from when I was in school. The students that you would just like leave alone because you like whatever they're doing now, and whatever I say is adding fuel to the fire, it's going to be worse. But you know, that's a case-by-case basis. And when we're talking about the safety of kids, and we talk about, if y'all scared to address an elementary school child, a 6-year-old, then you need to be in another profession. You do. And if anything, at the very least, I can understand being afraid, especially after hearing a story like this. I would have never thought that if I was working in a daycare or a school, this 6-year-old got a gun. I would have never thought that I'd be afraid to frisk or check the backpack or whatever of the 6-year-old, right? Because you really what can a 6-year-old do to me? Now I know that I should be afraid of a 6-year-old because anything could happen, but at the same time, you need to know who you really need to call for a check like that. Your everyday average Joe, if you're not skilled, if you haven't been trained to search for a weapon, then your search isn't good enough. It's going to be faulty. You should have called the police, which is why the police, when they gave their press conference, they made it known, hey, we never got a call about no weapon being present at their school. That way, the police have cleared themselves of any fault here because they weren't alerted until a shot was fired. When you hear that there is a possible gun in your school, you need to be calling the authorities so that they can do an appropriate and thorough search. These teachers didn't find this weapon because they're not qualified to do weapon searches. That's the bottom line. So even if you are afraid to approach the subject, call the proper authorities and let them do it. Because whatever the school called themselves trying to do with whatever little lackluster search they did, it didn't work. And they're going to more than likely end up paying a lot of money to this teacher here. They're going to end up having to pay a lot of money here. Honestly, I think a lot of times they'll hide behind the IEP. What's IEP? Can somebody put that really quickly? I've seen it like 5 times in the chat. Can somebody help me understand so that I'm not lost? What's IEP? IEP. What's IEP? Honestly, a lot of times they'll hide behind the IEP and use this as an excuse. I don't think IEP should excuse his behavior. In my opinion, I think every child should have an IEP. What's an IEP? Individual learning plan? Individual education plan? Okay, I think a lot of times they'll hide behind the education plan. Individual as an excuse. Yeah, I don't think it should be, because I think that that's a little extreme. It'd be different if maybe the parents had to show up 2 times a week, mandatory parent-teacher conferences a couple times a week, but every day during every, like at this point, you have to be present the whole time your child is in class. That's the problem. And that plan don't even make sense. That doesn't make sense to me. Your child's not going to act right unless you're there. And if you're not there, your child's a liability and everybody's in danger. I'm sorry. That's not a plan that makes sense to me. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. I feel like that's where they went wrong. When you realize you're having to spend all those hours at school, you got to drive out, get yourself dressed, get your child dressed, take your child to school, and you got to be there with them the whole day and eat their little raggedy lunch and at the school lunch and whatever. At this point, it would be much cheaper and easier and more beneficial for you to homeschool. But what, you don't want them tearing up your all day, so you send them to the school? Like, that was the first red flag for me. The child is not able to be present in the school unless his parents are there. That's an issue, because that takes away from the individual and the independent learning experience. Your child is supposed to be developing and becoming an adult and being able to survive and follow the rules and become a valuable member of society without the presence of you there. If you're hovering over them the whole time, there's a lot that's missed there. And not to mention, they only got you there because they don't trust their child there without you. If you don't trust that child's presence in that school without the parent being there 24/7, hello? It's too much. That one just doesn't make sense. So, I mean, I don't know. And I mean, sometimes, if schools don't have what they need in order to care, because I get it. Like, look, it turns out as soon as the situation happens, the first thing the parents say is he has an acute disability. Didn't say what disability it was. Didn't say what disability it was. All they said was it was an acute disability. So, is this a cop? Is this a cover up? Is this a sympathy grab? Whatever the case is, we don't know. But again, if your parents have got to be there 24/7 while you learn, then it's too much for that school to handle. And the school should have parted ways sooner than this to avoid this incident, which really could have led to a fatality. They did a disservice to the rest of those kids. They put those kids in danger. They put the whole staff and administration in danger because they didn't know how to analyze this and say, you know what, we aren't able to provide what your child needs, whether it be through the disability and or the IEP. We don't have the resources that it takes, and I'm sorry, your child can no longer stay here. It's a difficult conversation, yes, but there's some schools that are specialized to deal with certain things. This wasn't the school that had the time, the resources, the funding, or any of those things. They should have definitely parted ways. What happens to the parents that come to the school and show out if they get a call that you're showing out of school? It worked for me. Yeah, that's true. My mother definitely showed up to the school and showed out if the teacher called her or she got an email in the middle of the day about my behavior. She showed up and she showed out, and that taught my ass. That taught my ass. But discipline is not one size fits all, right? It's really not. But it shouldn't have to take an incident, because what now? When the boy gets out of the facility, of course, he's not going to be allowed to go back to the school, right? But it shouldn't take a teacher getting shot for y'all to make that decision to say, you know what? This child is out of our control. We've tried several different things. It's not working. This child it shouldn't take a teacher getting shot for you to say, you know what? This child, we're going to have to part ways. It shouldn't take that. And that's not fair to them kids, to the kids' parents. Imagine the anxiety that them kids have because they got messages that there had been a shooting at the school. They put the school on lockdown, and the parents was waiting out there until it almost got dark, waiting to be reunited with their children, not knowing if the shooting was of a teacher or somebody else. Every parent's heart is beating fast, and that is so unfair to have everybody worried, to have those students and all of the staff and administration in danger. At one point, I thought about being a teacher, and honestly, I'm glad I didn't. But that's so unfair to be placed in that type of danger because the school doesn't understand how to assess and say, no, it's time for us to part ways. We can't give your child the attention and the care and whatever your child needs in order to be their best. We just can't provide it. So, yeah. My mother did too. She showed up wearing a trench coat, kitten. Yes, when your parents show up to school and they look ugly, got all the kids like, who mother is that? Child, my mother would show up, but she didn't even know she was looking ugly though, because she was just, my mother in survival mode her whole life, just looking a mess. They was like, who parent is that? I'm like, oh my God, can I use the bathroom? I pretend like it wasn't my mother so I could use the bathroom, so she could go talk shit to me in the bathroom, hit my head up against the mirror. Okay. But you know, discipline, like I said, it's not one size fits all. But this was something really interesting interesting and sad to analyze and shed light on. But I definitely wanted to discuss this. Okay. So like I said, should he be tried at all as an adult, as a juvenile? What are your thoughts? What should be his punishment if so? And if he shouldn't be punished, or in addition to him being punished, who should be held accountable? Any and all thoughts, let me know down below. Okay. They said you guys make great points in this chat. Listen, my chat, we think critically and independently over here. And that's what I appreciate the most about my stickies and the people who follow me. Okay, the people who support your girl, the people who subscribe and hit thumbs up and all that other stuff. Because listen, y'all know I give syrup in the form of Black news and celebrity updates. Things are always sticky in Hollywood in real life. Be sure to comment your thoughts down below in the chat. I wanted to dedicate a whole video to this and this alone. I didn't want to mix it in with other things. And I'm curious to know how this lands for you. Don't forget to share the video. Be sure to tag me in all of your favorite trending topics on Instagram and on Twitter. Thanks for watching. Thank you for checking the community tab if you haven't already. I definitely want to know your thought on the last 2 community tab posts. Okay. Subscribe to the backup channel. It is listed down below at TPJ Network. It'll be the second link that you see in blue. And of course, don't forget to do something to relax today. Okay. Subscribe, thumbs up, or down. Either way, I appreciate it. But be sure to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of this celebrity or trending syrup. Because listen, you know things are always sticky in Hollywood and in real life. And of course, drop some of them pancake emojis down below. If you are a channel member, drop your special emojis down below. And to all of my channel members, I'm going to see y'all backstage later on tonight for a show, because we have much to discuss. But also, I want to tell y'all who blocked me on Instagram today. Someone who has infiltrated, not Instagram, I'm sorry, Twitter. Someone who has infiltrated the Black community. And just infiltrated us so bad, exploits us, be trying to get people to tell on us. If you got a guess, put it down below in the chat. If you follow me on Twitter, you've already gotten a clue, but I can't wait to show y'all the receipts and the real-time action when we come back later on. And there are some other things that I do want to discuss and get into, some stuff that's a bit more lighthearted than this. But I definitely, I felt it on my heart, and I felt a little obligated to discuss this issue. And I look forward to following up on this issue because it's really sad and unfortunate. I'm going to catch y'all in the next video. Y'all make sure to stay beautiful, Black, and blessed. And I'm going to see y'all tomorrow for Friday's show. Deuces. But that's it. If you want to catch more of my commentary on Black culture or vital and trending information, be sure to subscribe by hitting that little circle in the middle of the screen, or I'll catch you in one of these rectangles to the right in another video. I'll see you there.